preface the lesson with that, and then we'll go right into our lesson for this evening. I talked about elders and ministers, and I want to preface this by saying there is no hidden agenda by me saying this, and Jimmy can tell you this, and Wilson C. can tell you the same thing. We are all in harmony, amen. And there is no strife, there is no any issues, but this is more for education as opposed to trying to refute anything. When you look at the office of the minister and you look at the office of the elder, what we have to say, and I said this I think 3 years ago, one of the things you have to understand is the continuity that God has from old to new. With that said, we come in our faith tradition, Church of Christ, we come from men who have a background that is not what we would call a vacuum. By vacuum, I mean we don't just come out of space. As great as those men were, they wanted to reform the church, but they also came from denominational backgrounds. Barton W. Stone, for those of you who don't know who that is, you can look him up. I hope this marker works. Yeah. Barton W. Stone was one of the reformers of the Church of Christ. He, along with a gentleman by the name of Alexander Campbell. I don't know how familiar you are with these names, but these are two men that in the late or early 19th century, they began a movement that said we want to go back to the Bible. And we want to go back to the original. The original pattern is already in the Bible. So they didn't come up with the pattern. But what they want to do is go back to the pattern. Okay? And in doing so, inevitably, anytime you have a theological position, you bring along theological baggage. I don't care who you are. Amen. And I hope these terms aren't throwing you off. I just want to kind of lay the groundwork before I get into it too deep. Barton W. Stone came from the Baptist church. And so there was some theological baggage that he brought from the Baptist church, which primarily dealt with the Reformation movement. The Reformation movement has some thoughts that are deeply embedded with men like John Calvin, men like Augustine, and Zwingli, and other men who were their predecessors. Some of the theology was solid, some of it was not so solid. But one of the other co-leaders in this movement was named Alexander Campbell. And he's the man I want to kind of focus in for our brief discussion here. Alexander Campbell came from the Presbyterian church. Now, if you look at the name Presbyterian, you'll see the word Presbyteros. That's the Greek word. It means elder. It means overseer. That's another connotation. It means bishop. The Presbyterian church believes that the elders run the church. The elders are the ones who basically have the final say-so in all matters. That's where Alexander Campbell came from. So when he comes to this movement called the Restoration Movement, where the Church of Christ, as we know it today, is birthed from, there's also Disciples of Christ. If you go down the street here, hang a right, go down to that second stop sign, there's a Disciples of Christ church, which is that's our kin. Amen. That's our kissing cousin. So understanding that background, we have to understand where some of these thoughts originate. Now, I want to show you in Scripture now, because that's all well and good, but let's turn to the Numbers. Keep your finger in John 6, we're going to come back to it. Go to Numbers chapter 11. I want somebody to read for me just the first two verses. We're going to look at Numbers chapter 11. I want you to read verse 16 and 17. Numbers 11, 16 and 17. So as you get this started.
From the elders of Israel, whom you know to be the elders of the people
God does. God says, I'm talking to you, Moses. Moses would be the man of God. In modern context, he would be the minister. He talks to the man of God. He says, I want you to go and get 70 elders. Not that the elders are going to be over you, but I need for you to get 70 elders so that they can help you. Do you see how that works? That's the paradigm that we use when we go to 1 Timothy. We're going to go there in just a second. So, Moses is the preacher. God speaks through the preacher. The preacher then helps the elders. The elders then watch over the people. And for sake of time, let me just tell you how the story ends. The elders are the ones that Moses will assign to watch over 50s, 100s, 1,000, 10,000, so forth and so on. So the elders are there because they need oversight. But watch what he says. He says, I'm going to send them with you. He didn't say I'm going to put them in charge of you. Is everybody all right? Now, I know some of y'all are going to be discomforted by this lesson. But it's scripture. And one of the things I'm charged with is to dispel misinformation. Mm-hmm. You can have been taught something traditionally for years, and that tradition could be wrong. Okay? I don't care who it is. If a tradition keeps getting repeated and it's not correct or according to scripture, then that's a problem. And so it would be wrong of me to promote problems if I know that's not scripturally based. Okay? All right. So watch this. After Moses gets the 70 elders, what happened to him? Yes, sir.
Then I will come down and say, I will speak with you there, and I will take of the Spirit who is upon you, and I will put him on them, and they shall bear the burden of the people, so that you will not bear it all alone.
Now, for sake of time, go to verse 24 and read from 24 to 30. Same chapter.
So Moses went out and told the people the word of the Lord. Also, he gathered 7 men of the elders of the people and stationed them around the tents. Then the Lord came down in the cloud and spoke to him. And he took of the Spirit who was upon him and placed him upon the 70 elders. And when the Spirit rested upon them, they prophesied, but they did not do it.
Go down to about, skip for sake of time, go to verse 30.
Then Moses returned to the camp, both he and the elders of the people.
So what we're seeing here is the first organized leadership conference. Now, elders are seen as far back as Genesis chapter 50, around verse 7, I think it is. But for the sake of this discussion, we want to see how elders are used in terms of the governance of the people of Israel. That same pattern goes on from Moses all the way down to Paul. Okay? When you get into the New Testament, you have to understand the early church was born of Jewish soul, soul rather. It is the first leadership that was ever created in the church was Jewish. It wasn't Gentile, it was Jewish. The tradition then has to come down from the Jewish lineage, or Jewish understanding of what eldership is. The same thing happens with the man of God. The same thing happens with the elders, the deacons, all that kind of thing. Now, when we say look out among yourselves, one of the other misnomers we have, and I'm trying to blow through this quickly so I can get to the lesson. But one of the misnomers is people say, well, the church picks the elders. In the New Testament paradigm, Paul gives Titus chapter 1, verse 5 through 9. Turn there, Titus chapter 1, 5 through 9. Titus is the evangelist. I'll do this, and I apologize for sort of doing this in a haphazard manner, but I just want to give you some cursory understanding. And then later on, we'll probably go deeper. But look at what Paul says to Titus. Titus, for this cause I left thee in Crete, that thou shouldest set in order the things that are wanting, and ordain elders in every city as I have appointed thee. If any man be blameless, a husband of one wife, having faithful children, not accused of riot or unruly, for a bishop, he uses that word interchangeably, must be blameless as the steward of God, not self-willed, not soon angry, not giving the wine. I like that because he says to the deacons, they're not giving much wine. He says, not giving wine here. No striker. I mean, he doesn't beat his wife. Amen? Amen. Wife don't beat him. All right? Not giving to filthy lucre. That means money that's not his. All right? See, all these are what we would call characteristics you got to look for. Now, some people say these are the mandates, and that's debatable. You can call them mandates, you can call them parameters, whatever you want to call them. But understand, Titus is the evangelist, and Titus has to do all this. And Titus is the one. So sometimes I've been in churches where they say, well, church, look among you and see who you think should be an elder. Anybody been in that kind of congregation? And they say, whoever you see, we'll vote on it next week. Amen. Not knowing that man, just because he might be older, that man may be a womanizer. Because really, when you read it says the husband of one wife, that's somewhat of a misleading translation. If you look at it in the original text, it literally suggests he's a one-woman man. That's how the phrase is translated. And it's not speaking about how many wives he married. Of course, you want to have one wife, amen. But it's really dealing with his desire for more than one wife. See, you can be married and have a cheating heart. Amen. I know some of y'all sing that before in the church. You've been married to one man, but you got a wandering eye. Maybe y'all ain't sing that. I sing. So one of the spiritual, because see, these are all spiritual characteristics. He's saying, I need for you to find a man, not just because he looks the part, not because he's got gray hair, not just because he got 2 kids. See, that's how we look at stuff. We like Samuel when it comes to that. He fits the part. He's been coming to church, you know. He's been here for 30 years. Let's make him an elder. Or let's make him a deacon because he's been here for so long, right? That's how we do. But that's not how the Bible did. And so Titus was given the responsibility. See, the man of God has more than just preaching responsibilities. I know a lot of people don't like that. Everybody, hey, he's just a preacher. No, it's more than a preacher. And I'm not trying to build myself up because the scriptures teach it. Just like you need to understand what the deacons do, just like you need to understand what the elders do, you need to understand what the man of God does. And because I think traditionally we haven't been taught that in the Church of Christ, or because some traditions have been set, many people misunderstand. And because they misunderstand, they disrespect certain offices. By disrespect, I mean they would say, well, I'm going to hop over him to get to him. And that's not how it works. That's not how it works. So if I do nothing else, I want to explain. So when you meet the Lord and you say, did Brother Clark teach you? That's what Brother Clark said. I didn't want to believe it, but that's what he said. Amen. And see, I'm charged with every educational teaching experience in the church is under my auspices. If I don't teach something or if something is being taught in this church that's false, this man got a responsibility, along with his brother, to make sure that's been refuted. And I have the same responsibility in terms of teaching against it. As an evangelist, this is something people don't know. As an evangelist, I actually am called to go. You know, sometimes you see, I say, I have to be preaching so-and-so. It's not because I'm just, as an evangelist, you're a traveler. That's what evangelist means. It means I'm a traveling preacher. I'm stationary here primarily, but I travel to spread the word of God. That's what I've been called to do. Okay? So again, we're going to get more into this hopefully down the road, but that's just a quick cursory look at some of the things. Now we can go deeper, but I'm just going to leave a couple of minutes before we get to the lesson. Anybody have any questions on what I said so far?
I just wonder if sometimes we can't have it, sermons about that where all the congregation can know that, because I've been in the Church of Christ all my life, and that's what, I wasn't the one that asked you about it today, but I'm just saying, I've been in the Church of Christ all my life, and they say some things like that, just like they say about the Lord's Supper. And I know a preacher got fired. He wanted everybody to come back at night, then he wanted to serve the Lord's Supper again to everybody who had it before. So all of these things I think needs to be presented to the congregation so that we'll know the difference.
Right.
Some people thought it was wrong, some people thought it was right. So we have a lot of issues, those who have been in the church a long time and been taught different things.
Absolutely. I think even myself, I've parroted some things that I didn't necessarily study in depthly. And when you parrot sometimes, the things you parrot, generally speaking, are right in the church. We've been taught, I would say 90% of what we've been taught is solid. But there's also some traditions that sometimes overcome proper contextual teaching. There are some areas where God leaves it up to, your liberty. Not everything is going to hell, not going to hell. All right? There's some areas that we can have liberty in. You see what I'm saying? We can sing 2 songs. Another church may sing 5. We may give the Lord's Supper first. They may give it last. There's some areas that we don't have to fuss about all the time. We spend more time fussing than evangelizing. And that's the sad part about it. And I think at least what I'm trying to do, listen, I'm not infallible. I can be just wrong as 2 left shoes. But I try to at least be biblically honest to the best of my ability. And if you're biblically honest, even if you disagree, you have to at least say, well, it's based on this. You just can't disagree and say, I disagree. You see what I'm saying? That's like me saying, somebody says, the sun is out. I say, I disagree. I mean, it's nighttime. Well, we can be of a different opinion, but the fact is the fact the sun is out. So, again, we won't belabor the point, but I just want to kind of open the floor just to kind of answer some questions on that. Now, if there are no further questions, again, I'll answer later on in the class if you want me to. Go to John chapter 6, and we'll get you in and out at a good time. Give me about 30 minutes and we should have you out. John chapter 6. We talked about this morning the lad with the lunch. And I don't know about you, but that passage is just pregnant. And it's got so much power. So much power. So much so that if you just hang out, we're going to look at it from John's perspective. We looked at Luke this morning, but I want you to look at John's perspective. Look at John chapter 6, those who just came in. And I want you to look at verse number 1. I'm going to read just a little bit. Jimmy, you don't mind reading just the first 9 verses of that one? Yes, sir.
After these things, Jesus went away to the other side of the sea of Galilee, or Tiberias. A large crowd followed him because they saw the signs which he was performing on those who were sick. Then Jesus went up on the mountain, and there he sat down with his disciples. Now the Passover, the feast of the Jews, was near. Therefore Jesus lifted up his eyes and seeing that a large crowd was coming to him, said to Philip, where are we to buy bread so that these may eat?
Now stop right there. One of the things I love about Jesus is that he uses, it's not even a matter of sarcasm, he uses words to try. Jesus will ask questions in Scripture that will challenge our theology, will challenge our paradigm, it will challenge our faith. He says, where are we going to get food to eat? But John says, he said this to prove it. Jesus says, where are we going to get the amount of food that we need to feed 25,000 people? Now here's the question. You just got the power. If you read in verse, if you read up, well, not in that chapter, if you go to Luke chapter 9 and read up verse 1, you'll find that they just came back from giving a gospel meeting. They just came back from an evangelistic effort. They were casting out demons. They were doing all kind of stuff. Jesus, you did this. He says, you did all this. And Jesus, let me tell you what happened. Man, we saved souls. We opened the eyes of the blind. The cripple was healed. He says, but now, Philip, where are we going to get the food to eat? Philip, I don't know. Are you asking me that? You got no money? Man, we in a desert place. We're in a desolate place. There ain't nothing but grass and cows out here. You should ask me that when we were in the city. I could have gone to Capernaum. I could have gone to another place to get some food. But now you got me in a pickle. Isn't that something? That's how we treat Jesus. Jesus just took care of our problem last week. And here we are this week. We got another situation. How are we going to get out of here? I don't know. I don't know. What are you asking me? Faith. Isn't that a faith challenge?
Yes.
My goodness, that's a faith challenge I haven't seen one. But watch what he says next. What does he say?
This he was saying to test him.
Wow. Underline that phrase. This he said to do what?
Test him.
All Jesus was trying to do was test their faith. And why was he testing? Because guess what he's going to do next? What did he say?
For he himself knew what he was intended to do.
Do you see that? Jesus already knows what he's going to do about your situation. We said many times before, you never catch God off guard.
That's right.
I don't care what's going on. I heard somebody mention pancreatic cancer. And I was sitting here. That didn't catch God off guard. Your hospital stay, that accident you were just in last week, God saw it. You're not going to catch God off guard. And we cry to God as if God didn't know. God, what are we going to do? I said, man, I already had this planned out. You're getting upset over nothing. Even if it means your death. It's still nothing. What is death to me? You know, I said a long time ago, I said, well, you know, and this was in the context of following a bad minister, one who can't teach you the gospel the right way. I said, if you go to a barber shop and the barber can't cut hair, the worst you're going to come out is bald-headed. Amen? You go to a bad optometrist or ophthalmologist, the worst you're going to come out is blind. Amen? Man, you go to a bad dentist, the worst you're going to do is come out with no teeth. Amen? Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's the worst one. You fool around and get the wrong spiritual person, and you got eternity.
That's right.
Amen. What Jesus is trying to do, he's trying to build their faith, but he can't always build their faith by simply giving them. You got to prove sometimes.
That's right.
I was talking to a friend the other day, we were talking about how this generation, it seems like more and more people are just so, excuse the phrase, snowflake. You know, and it's not to belittle or make light of bullying and that kind of thing. But when I grew up and people bullied you, there was two ways to handle that. Amen. I'm not advocating violence, but you know, you want to push me, guess what? Might be the last time you put your hands on me. But even if I got beat up, it taught me lessons. And by the time I got grown, I knew how to handle situations. Now my boss, you know, put an extra stack of papers on my desk. We don't teach kids how to be strong today.
That's right.
Why? Because when Bobby wants the new PlayStation, we give it to him. Can you clean your room? No, I'm not cleaning my room. All right, little Bobby. Can you cut the grass for me? No, I'm not cutting the grass. Here's your iPhone 10. Sometimes you teach not by giving, you teach by trial. You learn more lessons when you go through stuff, even more than when you read it. Jesus says he did this to prove it. Look at verse number 7. What happened after that?
Philip answered him, 200 denarii worth of bread is not sufficient for them, for everyone is to receive a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, there's a lad here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fishes.
Now watch this.
But what are these for so many?
And stop right there. Watch this. Philip says we can get 200 denarii, 6 months' wages, and it wouldn't be enough. Andrew says, I got a lad here who's willing to give up his lunch. But all he has is 2 fish and 5 loaves. You know, when I first originally read that, I was applauding Andrew because I said, you know, Andrew's a solid guy, at least he's trying. But I really think sometimes, and again, this is my interpretation, this is my subjective eye on the passage. But I wonder if Andrew was being facetious. And I can see Andrew taking the little boy and saying, what you got, little boy? He's got 5 little bitty biscuits, little Popeye's biscuit. You got how many? You got 2 fish sticks. And Jesus, that's what he got. We gonna make this work? I can almost see him saying it. But the thing I love about it, we said this morning, the Lord doesn't need a lot.
That's right.
He just needs what you have.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want anything else, your inadequacy is going to be met by God's adequacy when you give to him what you have. It wasn't the fact that he only had 2 and 5. It was the fact that he wanted to give it to him. Amen. It wasn't the fact that the widow had 2 mites, but she gave more to everybody else. Do you see what I'm saying? We got to get over the mindset of making excuses about I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not, it's not within me. I don't have the ability. Jesus went to Jonah. Jonah, I need you to talk to the Nineveh. Oh, Lord, I don't know how to do that. Moses, I need you to lead my people. Oh, Lord, I got speech impediment. And it's somewhat humbling because I can imagine the Lord coming to some of us and saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Jeremiah, I need to, oh, Lord, they don't listen to me. Every great man of God almost had an insecurity, it looks like. Elijah, man, you're not going to listen to me, God. I'm not. See, but it's not about you.
That's right.
The minute you get over yourself
Mm-hmm.
is the minute God can use you. Do you hear what I'm saying? God doesn't need a great orator to teach somebody how to be saved.
That's right.
But he can use your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
He can use your hand to write a letter. He can use your phone to call somebody. And you don't have to be the best at whatever you do. You just got to be willing to give it to God. Anything you have that you give to God, God can, I guarantee you, your little bit God can use and multiply.
Mm-hmm.
Guarantee that. Yes.
You know, not to throw off you off, but in Hebrews we were talking about going to the higher things of